Hello, welcome back to another All Gathered Up with me, Stuart from the Warpatch, and as always, Carol ALAYNE, Master Tailor Couturier. Hello, Carol. You've just watched the eclipse. Was it good?
I have. It was good. It was good on paper. I thought it was
Yeah.
going to be a lot darker. I expected, lights out and then we'd get the sun again, but it was for that much coverage of the sun. We still
Yeah.
had most of the evening light, which was a bit of a surprise. But
Now,
I did the old
all,
science experiment, and that
well, I was
worked.
just about to say, All Gathered Up is the Skills and Techniques show. Tell us about your technique and your experiment that you did to see it. What did you
Okay.
do?
Well, I took a piece of typing paper, bond paper, and I took the awl, the sewing awl, and I put in about a good eighth of an inch, big eighth of an inch hole. And then I held it up to the sun, and I transposed it onto this shoji screen behind me,
Look at
and
that.
I saw this amazing little crescent. And so it's like 90, I don't know, 5% coverage, but it was still light. So that tells you how powerful the
Yeah.
sun is.
Yeah. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Well, let's get into it. Week 5. Let's just have a quick look at some of the comments that came up last week for week 4. Sue Thomas says, interesting note, Heather used dental floss and zigzag stitching to gather the 15 meters of fabric for her made to measure. I totally missed that.
Ah,
Totally
I
missed
had
that.
no idea. What a clever thing to do because it's hard to break the dental floss and it's slippery. So that's going to work really beautifully.
So,
And
from a technique point of view,
yeah.
have you used that before, or are you just so ingrained in your usual way of doing two rows of
Yeah.
thread?
Well, that's a great way out of, having to gather a big, heavier
Yeah,
cloth. So yeah, I've never done that, but that makes perfect
it
sense.
does, doesn't it? Monique says, I thoroughly enjoy your review of the Great British Sewing Bee. Not available where I am, so this is the next best thing. Marvellous sculptural piece.
Oh,
Isn't that
great.
nice?
Well, thank you. Thank you.
And then Knit with Hannah says, I was hoping someone would bring my idea to life. A bubble skirt with a big wide waistband. Look at that. Carol did part of it. So look, on the
Oh, yeah, the
same
circle, the
sort of,
circle study, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. All right.
absolutely.
Oh, I'm glad you like that. I'm glad it met half your criteria. I
And
missed the waist.
if you wanted to see more of that, then what we have just done, oh no, not that one, we're on this one.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
We were talking about fullness, sculptured volume, and sculptural shape, all about creating volume. Is that right, Carol?
That's right. And you have to decide, I think, what you want when you're starting your project out at the beginning. You have to decide what is this going to be a very soft, flowing, fluttery thing, or do you want more posture in it, or do you want to really go for a big, sturdy silhouette, with drama, which I think is what the judges were looking for with that last
Yes.
transformation challenge. Wasn't that right, Stuart, with
I
the
think
tablecloth?
absolutely, yeah. And if you're looking at this now, going, "Oh, this sounds interesting," well, you can sign up. You can sign up to an episode, and then I think you to do one masterclass. So maybe you'll sign up for week 5 or week 6. And is that right? They get a limited access for a week to all the previous videos, so they could watch
Yeah.
week 4, or if they sign up to the bundle, they can get access for the whole series.
The whole series, yes. And I think they get a peek into the entire website as well. So they can see everything that we're doing, with the Couture Insights, which are they're shorter films focusing on one specific technique, and some of our master classes and things. And we're going to have that available to up to the final.
Oh,
So there's
brilliant.
a lot of material to look
Yeah.
at. If you sign up for this bundle, it's a nice peek into our sewing community, isn't it, Stuart?
Oh, absolutely. And we've only had 4 weeks. We're now starting week 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we're up to the final. And then we'll have a nice fun Ask Carol free for all at the end to wrap it all up.
We will. And you can send in your questions to masterclass at ineverlearnedtosew.com. And you can give us these questions ahead of time if you think of them, and then we can maybe put a little tutorial together or,
Brilliant.
discuss ahead of time how we'd answer those questions.
I've enjoyed it so far. All the links are in the description below for you to go and sign up. If you put gathered 26, I think the code, it's all in there. You get 15% off. It's already cheap. So what you're giving us all. So all gathered up viewers get it even more of a saving. So that's great. Right. Let's look at week 5 then. Sports week.
Okay.
You've come up with this topic of shifting and conflicting fabrics. Tell us more.
Well, I thought this was an interesting way to kind of dive into working with fabrics that you're combining and their different properties. So we had mesh mixed with a jersey, didn't we, in the swimming shorts? And this happens all the time. Linings are different to your main fabric. Now, your main fabric can be very thick, it can be very slippery, it can have completely different properties to lining. And so that's what we're going to be talking about, how to control that. And also when we look at a tailored piece, like with all the architecture in the inside, well, that's built to shift. That's supposed to move. And that's supposed to mold onto the body when you make a tailored suit. And we handle that with basting. So we just layer everything together, and we pad stitch everything so that it can move a little bit and then it can form. But you don't want that in a sportswear piece or a couture piece.
No.
You don't want to baste it together first. You want to just align everything and get it right in the machine. So that's what we're going to be looking at in the masterclass on Monday.
Oh, brilliant. So, because I'm just now thinking, when I made with you the tailored gilets, I had that room for movement on the back of my gilet. Was that right? We did this.
Yes.
What's that? Like an excess, the overfold. So when I'm sitting in the car, or what, you've got that movability there. What's that all about? Explain that.
That's right, because, good point there. The body is closest to the lining. So that's the first thing that has to bend around the body. And the lining is more delicate than the outer fabric. You had a really beautiful wool herringbone, didn't you?
Yeah.
So that already has give in it. The lining doesn't have so much give in it. So you have to match the tolerances of both those fabrics. So you've got to put pleats in. You put a vertical pleat in the hem. So you had about an inch extra. And then I think we put a pleat maybe in the center back of the lining. And just giving that lining fabric the tolerance it needed to meet the tolerance of the outside fabric. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when we talk about this idea of shifting and conflicting fabrics, is that what you're talking about, the shifting, not necessarily fabric shifting as you're putting it through the presser foot? Because we all know that happens and it is very frustrating.
Yeah. So that we're going to talk about tricks to line up the seam allowances, and we're going to be talking about a bit of basting first, or using more pins, or advancing maybe the slippery fabric, the more drapey fabric, advancing that over the raw edge of maybe a more taut fabric or a thicker fabric, so that just the nature of the feed dog draws the more drapey, lighter fabric in against the other one, against the heavier fabric. And then we're going to look at velvet and corduroy and cashmere. We're going to be looking at cloths with nap. And when you put two pieces of velvet together, it just kind of slides one way or it slides the other way. So we're going to talk about how to coax those into alignment so that they behave when you're putting them through. And that has to do with the feet. Maybe you use a walking foot, or dropping the feed dog so it isn't quite so tight. Just little tricks like that. that we
Yeah.
can, put into place so it gives you easier time with
I'm
fabrics that are working against each other.
I was just about to say, from your point as a couturier with your sewing machine, what you do on the sewing machine when you use it, will you change feet, or is it just us domestic sewers that will get carried away with our feet and change them all
Oh,
the time? What do you do? I
no,
suppose most
I
of yours is
do.
hand.
A lot of it is handwork. A
Yeah.
lot of it is set up by hand. But I like, the Teflon foot. I like the walking foot. Sometimes I switch from the industrial to the domestic machine because, you get a variety of feet, don't you? You get feet
Yeah.
that do everything.
I
You
know.
know,
It's
and
almost too overwhelming, actually, and
yeah.
it's like that with your sewing machine anyway. It's a domestic sewing machine. You get like 900 stitches, and we're
I
never going to
know.
turn that dial or push the button to get all those different stitches. There's almost too many.
Yeah.
But when you do take the time to look through the feet, they are amazing. So can I get
Oh, yeah,
because
please.
I've started sewing, obviously, haven't I? I've got the bug.
Yeah,
Look, look.
you've got you got homework.
I know my machine's all set up over there. My overlocker is over there, but I'm going to just whiz over to my
Go
machine to
on,
to get this
go on.
foot. And I'm obviously using rib and one by one fabric. And there are issues of the fabric shifting there, but especially when I'm doing my collar, my neck.
Look at,
Look,
oh, so you've got a well, I have to say, that looks very good. How
and I
neat.
and I've done my armhole as well.
Yeah.
Look,
Very nice. Very nice. So one by one is a very stretchy fabric, isn't it?
it is. It is.
Very stretchy.
But when you've got your binding layer of your neck or your arm round, that was going to shift like anything. So I took the time to baste. I'm going to sound like a goody goody now, aren't
Goody,
I?
goody you. Good for
But
you. Yeah.
that 15-20 minutes of
Yeah.
going round this neck,
Yes.
basting it in, was actually
Yeah.
really quite enjoyable because I was like going, yeah, I know I want to start sewing, but actually this 15 minutes of just basting this down means I will actually enjoy the sewing and I
Yeah.
won't get angry and get frustrated at it shifting or,
Yeah.
or moving. So
Yeah.
I'm really thrilled I did that. However, I need a tip because I don't know whether you can
Okay.
see. It looks a bit, especially on here. I think I used
Okay.
too big
Yeah.
a
You got to.
needle or too thick a thread. Can you see kind of?
Okay. Yes, I can see the beading effect. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Like here
Okay.
on my finger
Yeah.
there, you
Yeah.
can kind of almost see where it's not puckered, but obviously my basting needle has gone in. Can you recommend a needle name, or do you just go to your McCulloch and
So
Wallace and just buy a needle?
I
Do
do,
you, have they got
I do.
specific
I mean,
names?
I like a large darner needle, like a number 10 darner. It's a longer needle. I like it because I can feed through two or three bastes at a time, so I can get a run going. Um, it's a thin needle and it bends easily. I mean, the needles aren't like they used to be made, are they?
No.
They're, they're made of a thinner alloy. It's not steel, but they are delicate and then they bend and they get this little crescent thing going, which then dips in and out. It's like you got it helps with the rhythm. I hope that makes sense, but because it's curved, it sort of you get this kind of wave thing going.
Yeah, yeah,
But I think you need a delicate needle if you're going to be basting. You don't want
yeah.
to make a big chunky stitch, do you?
And I
And
think
then you
that's
can,
what happened. Yeah. Because it's
yeah,
going through,
possibly.
it's going, well, think of how many layers that needle's got to go through too.
Yeah,
So by the time
yes,
it came out and
exactly.
I pulled it, I think it had just punctured the fabric too much. And I was using my basting thread that we used during the wool project, which is it felt almost like a calico thread. So I suppose I
Yes.
have to use a fine cotton thread.
You could, and if you're basting and it's going to come out,
Yeah.
then you can use an overlocking thread, something really fine, and you can use a light contrast so that you can see it
Oh,
and take it back out. So,
yeah.
you know,
That's a brilliant tip
um,
because I was using cream. So when I was trying to take it out, I was like, Stuart,
oh,
you numpty. But all
oh
these things,
dear.
but I then started to write them down. So, because remember, this is just a sample, isn't it? Look,
And
I haven't cut the whole
look at
thing.
how, yeah, and that's okay. You know, you think, well, sewing is the machine. We're sewing. We're
Yeah,
using a mechanical machine. No, sewing is handwork as well.
yeah,
That's sewing.
yeah.
That's getting everything ready so that when you pass it through the machine, you're just almost assured that things are going to go
Well,
right
Well,
because
it
you've laid it
did.
out.
And even
Yeah.
better, because I went through my feet and found this foot. I have no idea what it's called, other than I think it's number 13 in my FAF grid. But look at this.
So, oh, so that's got a guide on the edge. It's
Yes.
got a center point, which is in red. So that you've got a marker. Is that a Teflon?
I no, because it's still got the metal bottom that the feet
That's
sit
right.
on. But what
Okay.
happens is, can you see that
Yes, I can.
the red dial? It's
Yes.
almost like the quilting foot, the stitch in the ditch foot that juts out a little bit and
Mm,
goes in the seam. But this is not supposed to go in the seam. That red
right.
buffer, you
Okay.
push up against the when I'm sewing, it pushed up
I
against the
see.
edge.
Yep.
I can't do it without it focusing
No,
on
no,
my
I see. I
face.
can see what it's doing. Yes. So that, right. And it kind of got a roller effect on it.
Yeah. So it runs
Okay. I
along
see.
with it. The buffer of my rib that I'm sewing, my rib I'm sewing down, is
Yes.
buffered up against this red bit and it just rolls along. So
Yeah.
the idea of shifting fabrics now diminishes even more because I've
Yes.
basted and
Yeah.
this presser foot keeping in line with the edge of my rib. I had a
Yes.
double whammy to ensure success.
Fantastic. And then the top stitch is going in exactly the right place.
Absolutely. And all I had to look at was the red buffer, making sure the red buffer wheeled along the edge of my whole.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it just,
Fantastic.
yeah, didn't look at my
No
top stitch
wonder that,
once. And my top,
yeah, no
and then
wonder the
you,
result is so clean
absolutely,
and
yeah.
accurate.
And
That's why.
you look at that top
Yeah.
stitch.
That's outstanding. It really is.
So I'm really pleased with that. So from that point of view, basting or your feet or different types of feet are ways
Yes.
to stop that shifting of fabrics.
Yes. And you're helping your work along the way, every step of the way.
Yeah, yeah.
You're helping to move toward that, that really clear, accurate finish, aren't you?
We talked about, like you saying, next week on Monday night, if you want to join in, Carol will show, you said velvet on velvet. What
Yes.
about how the contestants had to deal with the jersey and the mesh, these conflicting
Yeah.
fabrics together? How
Yeah.
difficult would have that been, putting that mesh into the pocket? Would that have been, an extra challenge for
Yeah,
the
yes.
sewers?
I'm trying to remember if they had to fuse anything, because
There
the
was
fusing would have
there was
kept it under control.
not that I
No
saw there was
fusing.
any fusing. No,
Okay.
they've just had to
Okay.
make the pocket out of mesh
Yeah.
and then insert it.
And that would have been tricky because the mesh, I think, was quite an open weave.
It was,
So
yeah.
the needle is going through some of the fiber of the mesh and then skipping and then going through more and then coming up these regular holes in the mesh.
Yeah,
So,
let me see if I can find a picture of the pattern challenge.
yeah.
That's all their finished ones, but let's see if we can find the sample. So for viewers, just so you know, the pattern challenge, they had to make men's shorts. men's swimming shorts.
There we are. Okay.
So that was the sample, and then they there is it. Let me show you it close up. That's close up and on the pockets here. So again, we had this side seam pocket, didn't we?
Yes, pockets in the seam, in the side seam.
And let's
With a
see
facing.
where Patrick.
They
there
had
you
to put
go.
a facing on the mesh.
Yes.
Right, I remember. Yes. And that would have been the tricky part, but stitching the facing onto the mesh. And then you're putting the pocket in. So when you install the pocket in the side seam, you're sewing one layer of swimwear.
Yeah.
And the second layer is swimwear plus mesh.
Yeah.
So, right, so 3 layers. So the facing would have controlled it. If they got that wrong, so you see, there's the fabric they were given. Okay, so you're sewing on fiber and then into a hole and then in fiber and then into a hole.
Yeah.
So that would have been that is definitely a conflicting set of fabrics to plow through.
But the finished results, they all did well. When they were assessing them, it was pretty much down to the hems. They are
Yes.
They are really now, and we're only at week 4, but everyone seems to be very, very good, high level, but also equal. That's proving, well, it's going to be hard work for the judges, don't you think?
I think so too. This is a dilemma because you've got equal talent and you've got an exercise which is, easy to interpret. So you're going to get very similar results. So I think in this guy, I remember judging competitions and thinking, we got to be very clear about what our criteria for judging is, because, and you've got to treat people according to that criteria, because this is where a tiny little difference can make a huge difference in the judging. And this is where, things like bias can come into play and preferences come into play. And so you got to revert to that, what do we expect?
Yeah.
And you've got to apply that to every contestant. And
you can't let, I like that colour, persuade you, can you? You've got to write, we're looking at the hem, we're looking at the elasticated waist and how you put the mesh lining in. And they need to be strict with that, don't they?
They do. And you have to kind of steer away from, well, I really like this contestant and I want to see this contestant go forward. Let's see, where are we here? That's it. You have to...
Because it's hard. But that's what I like about judging. When I was a teacher and assessing, you hone in on that criteria. And yes, if it's down to the hem, you get your ruler out and you measure the hem. And I think a couple of times Patrick did actually say, your hem is just a bit short there, or just a bit wobbly, maybe. That tends to be one of the words, doesn't it? But it means they are really honing in, doesn't it? To make the ranking of the sewers.
But if you think about it, if that's the only thing they were calling people up on, then everyone did really well on their pockets. And to your point, we've got a level playing field. When it comes to installing a pocket, everybody knows how to do that.
Yeah.
Everybody did it cleanly. The eyelet holes, that was something new.
Yeah.
So they had a machine that they had to deal with. And that was new. Passing the cord through, that was something they could have used a bodkin or a safety pin. I'm not sure how they fed that through, but that could have given them some trouble. But it didn't. So most everyone knew how to handle every aspect of this task. So then you were down to and the hem would have been the last thing. So when you're rushed for time, you've got minutes left, the hem is going to be the thing. It's like once you decide what width of hem you're going to do, you're kind of stuck. You got to keep going with that. So if you put your needle in the wrong place, or you don't use the right guide on the presser foot, or then that's where things are going to go wrong.
Okay, let's go to the transformation challenge, because we're talking about shifting and conflicting fabrics. Well, they had windsurfing sails, So using that type of fabric would have been an interesting challenge, whatever it's made of, some sort of nylon, I'm presuming.
Yeah.
Let's go to, there they are. So they had windsurfing sails, and for the first time ever, my mouth dropped, they were put in pairs. Teamwork.
This was
And
clever.
they had to
Clever.
transform them into a two-piece outfit. Again, clever thinking, put them in pairs. One person does the top, one person does the bottom, or something, if that was what the producers were thinking. The pairs were picked at random, which I was very happy about. I do that often
Yeah.
in my old days of teaching.
Yeah.
Random will just bring about something very exciting, and it protects everyone. It allows, when I did it with the class, they choose the groups random in front of you, and then no one can be accused of, oh, you've put those two together because they're your favourites, or you
Yeah. Well,
put the two best
you
people
picked the
together.
pebble.
They
You picked it.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. So that was
Yeah.
good to see the way they dealt with that, picking at random. But there we had our pairs, Rebecca and Anna, Beth and Minnie, Tim and Adele, Heather and Emma. Now, this fabric, if you were there, how would you have felt with using that fabric and dealing with that fabric?
Well, the first thing that occurred to me was this is a really big fabric that was put together in motifs. So it was created with a design on it already. It's a big piece of fabric with big designs. So the first thing I thought of was, don't make anything small. It's gonna fight.
Yeah.
It's gonna fight the nature of the fabric. It's gonna be alien
Yeah.
to the fabric, because the fabric had these wild, graphic, really colorful, real stroby patterns. So you better use them, and make something big.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing I thought of. And of course, I think the one that came bottom was
Yes.
the one that was the tiny bubble skirt and the little corseted top. I didn't understand the judge's comment that it was a shame you didn't use some of the clear fabric in the skirt. Well, that would have made it a completely see-through skirt. So
I
how would that, what was that about?
I know, and that, as the teacher in me thinks, because his terminology was, I wish. Oh, I wish you'd done this. It's like, but it wasn't you're not making
No.
it. You've set the challenge. They've got the fabric. They use whatever they like. Maybe had he said, it may have been even better if you had done this and then given a reason, which he was trying to do, but it didn't sort of come out like that. It was just a case, I wish you'd done that, I wish you'd done that. And it's like, I think that's kind of the wrong terminology there, Patrick. Sorry to...
This is where biases and preferences are coming in.
Yes.
And you have to be firm in your criteria.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I thought it was beautifully executed. It's just when you're working with such a big, thick cloth, then, there in the bra, there's each side of the bra, each cup has 3 pieces. They're tiny. They're really small pieces. And then they had to machine them to, now whoever's done that has done lingerie before. That's clever.
Yeah.
And they're showing that they can sew a tricky fabric in small spaces. So that's a real talent there.
But you're right. When you've got that fabric with all those big motifs on it, it would have been easier just to go big and bold. So when you saw Rebecca, it was Beth and Minnie going big and huge.
I thought they're right on.
They probably had more fun or an easier time, maybe.
Yes, yeah. And that's quite a straightforward piece of work, isn't it? They've just made, I think they've used more or less most of the sail for the skirt.
Yeah.
Made a figure-hugging corset top, band top, and then took the edges of the sail and then made this crossbody thing. And then I think a little peplum. But that went together naturally, didn't it?
I felt it was good, and it was good seeing them work together. And they were. I enjoyed the discussions about, perhaps we need through line with this motif, these blue motifs that were already on the sail. Oh, and that's because they knew they were probably going to get pulled up. I think all the contestants did, all the sewers, of making it look holistic between whoever made the top and whoever made the bottom, and their discussion about, you know, mirroring that across. So, well, let's put something on extra and let's put something on the back. I thought, yeah, that's a nice discussion to listen to, and that makes complete sense to make it more cohesive.
Yeah. And this is quite a dramatic piece. This is really dramatic sculpture volume, you know, which we talked about, didn't it? This is kind of that's one end of the spectrum. It's not soft fullness. This is dramatic sculpture.
And speaking of your masterclass Monday, and you gave us a demonstration of the circle, didn't you, of how you'd sculpture that for volume. Yeah. What did you think when you saw this? That was like
a Medici cape, a collar. Yeah, exactly. So that looked really good. And I think did they sew those sunray strips together, or did they just use the sail?
I can't remember. It looks like they've sewn them together, but I'm not sure. But I understand perhaps why this didn't get as perhaps high as it should do. The execution there, it still looks a bit compared to all the others. But the ideas in it, you know, with the go days as well, we were talking about that for volume, weren't we?
We're talking about it as well. I mean, the interesting thing that would have helped, I think, is just skip the go day in the skirt. Just get another full circle, because then you'd have this kind of Medici collar here, a half a circle, and then you could have had a full circle skirt without all that effort, and you didn't have to gather it either. You could have just cut it so that the middle circle was equal to the waist. And then I just love the bunting effect.
Yeah.
They could have made, you know, kind of a raggy bunting hem on that. And there's a huge amount of effort with the go days, but it doesn't really speak very well, does it?
No.
It's not really effective.
And let's finish with Rebecca Anna, which I thought, as I was watching it, I said to Ting, oh, this has got to be Garment of the Week. I just loved this. Everything about it, I just thought was very, very clever.
When I saw that they both drew the same lot and they were going to be on the team, I just thought, just sit back and watch these two. Just watch this 1-2 punch, because I think these are the contenders for the winner. I really do.
Right.
You got they both engineer well. They both have a great color sense. They're bold, you know, they jump right in. And I thought, just sit back and enjoy this.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to come up with something really special. And it's fantastic. Really. And the yellow, the yellow repetition, you know, that's kind of governing this.
Yeah.
You've got the symmetry in the trouser, but you've got the asymmetry in the top, and the yellow just really.
It's just so clever, though. Whoosh, the lines, as you say, and then that going under, then these little bits here, and then this design here. Do you know, as I was watching it, it made me think of Anneka Rice and Treasure Hunt in the 80s, in her jumpsuits. Jumping out of a helicopter, and then my favourite challenge Anneka, when she would be in her jumpsuits doing wonderful things for charity. And I've just googled a quick picture, and there you go. Look at look. It's almost
similar.
Look,
there's
the
that
colours, the yellow, the blue, and it's like, oh, those are the days. I could see Anneka. I could see Anneka in there wonderfully.
It's such a hit. Such a hit, but those two, they work so well together, you know.
Now, before we finish, I just want a quick little giggle at a tutorial, not at your tutorial, but at us, because the nylon of the windsurfing sails there reminded me of RipStop as a fabric. And because we were looking at Sports Week, I thought it might be nice to talk about RipStop. If you can tell if you can tell the viewers about RipStop and what it's like as a technical fabric to use, and does it shift a lot? How does it work with other fabrics? Just give us a bit of a talking about that, and then I'll introduce a little tutorial that you've done.
oh, right. Okay, that sounds great. Well, ripstop nylon, it doesn't stretch at all.
Oh, right.
Very sturdy. Well,
Yeah.
it does. There's a bit of a bias on it, but it's very sturdy because it has this grid which is woven into it, which keeps it taut on the cross grain and the straighter grain. It's very unforgiving if you want to ease one thing onto another. So it's great for flat sewing and lots of different colors, layering of colors, stripes and intersections and things like that. Because it doesn't stretch. It's very good, if you want to put in a zip, because you don't have to worry about all that puckering but it is,
I need to use this
and it
fabric
cuts
more.
clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it cuts cleanly. It doesn't fray. So on the one hand, it's very clean fabric to work with. On the other hand, it's tricky because everything has to kind of be the same. The seams.
Oh, I
If you're
see.
setting in a sleeve, you
Yeah.
don't want any fullness.
Yeah.
So, but I love working with it because of the cleanliness and the tautness and the strength of it. And then it comes in a million colors, so you can
Yeah.
make something really exciting.
Well, you did in
Yeah.
2021, Carol, in series 7 of Sewing Bee. We're now on series 12. That goes to show how long we've
Okay.
been doing All Gathered Up. And
What I do?
every moment is a pleasure. Look at you with your long hair, and look at me with my long hair.
Oh my gosh. Oh, jeez. Oh, Cat Stevens, the T for the Tillerman cover. That's
That
what it
was
looks like to me.
that was coming out of COVID, and after I'd grown it for a long while. But they used Ripstop in one of the Sewing Bee episodes.
Yeah.
And well, you could see there it was episode 9, the semi-final, and
Okay.
you did a great tutorial. I'll link the full tutorial and the video because Carol made, what do you call it, a skater's jacket?
A skater's jacket. Yeah.
Yeah.
Skateboarders.
And
Yeah.
there is loads of demos on what to do with Ripstop, how to use it. But I thought I would just treat you all because Carol's demos are brilliant. One of the first ones that she did on just demoing Ripstop. So take a look at this.
You can see in this weave it has a warp and weft pattern in it, which makes it easy to work with patterns. On the straight of the grain here, we can see that it's very taut, no stretch. On the cross grain, 90-degree angle, there's a bit of bounce, but it's here on the bias, the true bias, the 45-degree angle, that you can see there's quite a lot of stretch and ability here to shape and use like a dressmaking cloth. So this is sturdy, it's strong, stain resistant, static resistant, but one of the disadvantages of nylon is that it will melt and burn. So I'm going to just apply here a dry iron. It's not very hot. And then I'm going to add a little bit of steam. You can see it's starting to change its composition. And now a little bit more steam, and here we go. You see, so you have to be very careful. Eventually it will retain its shape, but it's best to use hand pressing. Even the warmth of the table here is starting to have it curl. So here's our nylon. We're going to see what we can do with it. Here's a
There we
Wow.
go. How cool is that?
That's a nice reprisal of what we did. Yeah,
I've suddenly
that's
gone
the
big.
truth.
Oh, you've suddenly gone big. Sorry, hang
Hey, I've
on.
suddenly gone big. Hey, I
Where
can
is
be the
it?
producer for
Oh
once.
yeah. Oh, there we go. There we go. Back to
Oh,
that.
that's good. Oh, brilliant.
It's fascinating how that changed with the heat on it.
Yes, yeah. And it just curls right up, It looks like then it behaves like a knitted fabric, what happens when you knit, and what's that stitch you do when you're knitting? And then if you don't put an edge on it, it just curls.
Stocking stitch, yes,
Stocking
because
stitch.
you've
Yeah.
got more knits, the distribution of fabric between a knit stitch and a purl stitch. There's more fabric underneath, which then makes it tight on the top, so then it curls,
Right,
and
right.
it just
So
changes your fabric.
there's that word distribution again, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. We've used that a lot over this series, haven't we?
yes.
But if you want to find out more on that tutorial, just click on the link below. Carol then shows you how to do gathers. You did gathering with Ripstop nylon, and it looked
That's
brilliant.
right. I remember. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
And then you'll
I
get
didn't
to
use dental floss though.
no, you didn't. And you'll get to see Carol's skater jacket in this lovely white with pops of lime green and black in it. So if you want to know more about technical fabric, have a look at that. Just before we finish,
Yes.
I would like to quickly touch on how what your experience is with the wonderful Visilene company, or it looks like it's written Visilene, but I've always pronounced it Visilene. They
Yes.
do different types of kind of like adhesives, so you can
Yes.
attach your fabrics to. So when we were talking about shifting, fabric shifting, especially with the applique, I noticed that
Yes.
Rebecca pinned her badger to do her applique. I couldn't help thinking, but well, with all these shifting fabrics, why aren't they
Yes.
bonder webbing using
Yes.
Visilene, bonder webbing their fabric
Yeah.
down? What's your experience with Visilene and those
Yes.
types of glues to stop shifting
I
fabric?
have Stuart, I've got rolls of black and white Wonder Bond. I've got rolls of them. And if I'm doing anything with lace, or instead of pinning and hoping for the best, especially if I'm going to be hand applique, I always use those. I
Yeah.
always give myself a little start, but I cut tiny pieces. I don't put great, squares of
Oh,
these things on. I just use really tiny pieces. I pick the little triangles or circles or whatever up. I pick it up with a pin, and I've got the iron close by. I put that down on one fabric. I put the other fabric down, and then I hit it with the iron. Just little squares, just here and there, instead of pins. Because pins on really delicate fabric like georgettes and chiffons and lace, you want to use as few pins as possible.
yeah.
And I would say too, in things like ripstop nylon, if you put a pin hole in it, you take the pin out, the hole is there. It doesn't close up like
Yes, not like my
other
ribbing where
fabric.
I've been
I,
rubbing it together to try to
oh
close
yeah,
that hole back up. Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's I've got a lot of, I mean, they, and even in tailoring, even at the high level of tailoring, they do use those things. Sometimes they, in a tweed or a gent's suit, they'll sew that bust dart, and then they'll press everything flat, and they'll put a piece of bias cut Visilene, and they'll put that on the end of the dart to keep the fabric as close
Yeah.
to the dart as possible. So
Yeah, so it's
we're
just
all
it's using these modern techniques, so they're not cheats, but they're just something of this modern technology to help the classic skill to just last,
yeah.
or make your job as the tailor a little bit easier, and also to last a bit longer as well, I suppose.
That's true.
Yeah.
And pressing is really important with when you're dressmaking and you're tailoring. You're pressing along the way all the time. And if you can have a little aid along that, assembly line, if
Yeah.
you can just put in a little bit of things that make it easier, you're not asking that piece of Visilene to last the lifetime of the garment. It's really just helps you set it up. It might
Yes.
disintegrate and
Yeah.
disappear with dry cleaning, but that's not the
Yeah.
point. The point is as sewing as you go and using these little
Yeah.
tips and tricks to make the job easier along the way.
Well, I think as well that's what Minnie was trying to do with her made to measure piece. And I felt for her there, because I
Yeah.
think she had this idea of using some sort of Visilene bonder web that you can buy that's washable. I've done it with my applique. You put it underneath, so then you sew away to your heart's content, and then you rip the excess off easy peasy, or you put it under the sink, and it washes away. And I got the impression that's what she thought she was using, but maybe she got the wrong type of Visilene, just classic bonder web, which obviously won't wash away at all. So I don't know whether that was, I felt for her there, because I think she just had the
Yes.
wrong Visilene chosen. She
Yeah.
didn't have the washable one, because there are so
And then
many
did she,
different products, aren't there?
yeah, oh yes, yeah, you've got to know which one is which. Did she try to press that then? Is that what happened?
And I think I don't know. I need to go and watch it again. But
So do I.
I just felt for, well, let's get the picture. Oh, sorry, Minnie. But it's just highlighting these different things that we're doing for shifting fabrics and glues and things. Where is it? Made to measure and mini back. There we go. Let's get the close-up version. So she had ironed with Bonder web down, but obviously she's got I don't think she cut the Bonder web to what is it, Little Tempest. So therefore she's got extra Bonder web when it shouldn't have been done, and of course it ironed it onto the black. So you got the glue there.
And it looked like the top half, the top half of her work, that she was able to tear it off. That's what it looks like. But something happened on the bottom.
Yeah, I'm not truly sure. I'll try and re-watch it. But to be fair to... I've just pulled the thingy bob out. It does look like ice, doesn't it?
It does.
When you look at it from a distance, I know it's still in error, but you could have... Where is it? Where's the long shot? You could have... it's that sort of...
Yeah, because there's a horizon there,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, why? What difference does that make? It's still... And here's where I suppose it helped the judges, because they were all making the same type of garment.
Yeah.
Some were set in sleeves, some were drop shoulders, some were... This is where I thought, well, if you're asking for a made-to-measure garment,
yes,
if you've got a drop shoulder and a raglan and a set-in sleeve, well, surely the set-in sleeve was a better example of fit, and then the drop shoulder was an easier way around fit, as was a raglan. But this was harder to. This was harder to judge, I think.
There was so much. You've got the actual made-to-measure of the garment, the bowling shirt itself, and then you've got the applique to assess, and then you've got the free motion embroidery to assess. I don't know how I would have...
I know. There's a lot of elements to put in too. But it was a simple garment. It was a straightforward garment. I think you just had to make a contrast facing and collar, and then the rest of it was picking up on that color and making a really interesting graphic that kind of,
But
spoke.
As someone who uses Bonder web a lot and doing applique and that sort of design, it was interesting to watch how people did they use Bonder web or some sort of adhesive, or like Rebecca with her pins there and everything. So I think you've got an awful lot to talk about on Monday when we do shifting and conflicting fabrics.
I'm hoping we can get through it all. And I'm just going to make some samples of a lot of different things that will help. And we're going to explore a lot of different fabrics. We're going to look at fur. We're going to look at boiled wool, really spongy fabrics. We're going to look at slippery viscoses and linings that go into heavy fabrics. So there'll be a lot to get through. I'm excited about it on Monday.
I think people are going to love it because everyone's got perhaps their nemesis fabric that they really struggle with. So perhaps people, if they do join up for this, if you're already joined up as a bundle, or if you want to join up for a special class, this might be the one that people sign up because they might want extra sort of advice on this particular fabric that they always struggle with because it shifts, or how it moves and everything, and how it works with other fabrics. So I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. And also, we're looking at the change of season now. So you're going to be starting to work with heavier fabrics. So you're planning your fall and your winter wardrobes now. So this is a good time to work out, how a cupro lining, is going to fit in with your scheme of maybe a heavier fabric, a warmer garment.
Love it. Okay, well, that's Monday. See you Monday, Carol. Otherwise, we'll see everyone for week 6 of All Gathered Up. So I hope you can join us. But otherwise, Monday's masterclass, sign up. Everything's down there. We'll see you Monday, or if not, next Wednesday. Cheers, Carol. Thanks, everyone.
Yes,
Cheery,
thanks,
bye.
Stuart.
Bye.
Bye now.